The idea of habits is interesting, but because of the popularity of Atomic Habits by James Clear, there have been some common misconceptions that have arisen because of habits and habit building. So I'm here today to address that concern, to address those issues, and to tell you when habits are good, and also when they're actually not so good and you have to check yourself. So habits actually can be so amazing if it's for the right things, if it's for the right reasons. Habits are amazing for basic things, for simple things. You can get in the habit of eating healthy food, of going to the grocery store and buying healthy food rather than junk food. You can get in the habit of just drinking water and not drinking anything else, not drinking pop or sodas or alcohol or any of that. Habits are good in that way. Habits are good. You get in bed early every night. If you can build that as a habit, even waking up early every morning. Again, I've talked on this show many a time about waking up early and how it's good for you. So habits are good. To develop a habit for something that genuinely will give you small micro improvements in your life is a very good thing, and they very rarely go wrong when it's something that's useful, like the few things that I have kind of just talked about and given as examples. And in my life, sometimes these habits are great because, when I was living by myself, it was basically the culture I had, where I would just, when I go to the grocery store, I would I would buy maybe a specific set of things, and they're all healthy things, meats, fruits, and extra snacks and stuff, all healthy. I would never buy anything. I would not buy any junk, any garbage. And trust me, in some stores there's a lot of chocolates and cookies and sweets and salty things and chips and all this stuff. And there's a lot of unhealthy things. But I made it a point to the habit is, I go in the store, I have my route, and I buy what I need to buy. And sometimes I buy a couple extra things, but it's never anything unhealthy. So that's the culture I created because of the habit that I had of the way I do my grocery shopping. And in the same way, how I'm waking up early every single day, it's the habit of you wake up, you feel the tiredness, and then you get into the workout, right? You work out. Workout is the first thing of the morning. Then I eat breakfast, and then I get into my work. So then I win the morning, and I win the day by extension. So habits for those things, small micro improvements in your life, is very good. They work very well. And of course, they work well for snapping out of bad patterns. If you realize that you're doing something in your life, whether it be, I don't know, drugs or whatever, some sort of an addiction, because of course it's an addiction that it's the brain's kind of thing that it wants and thing that it craves. We know, if you've read Atomic Habits, even if I'm going here addressing a couple of things, you should definitely read Atomic Habits. I've read it a couple of times. It's a very good book. But the way that a habit works is you have the cue, then the craving, then the response, and then the reward. That's the way he described it in his book. There are many different interpretations, but for the sake of this video, that's what I'll kind of talk about. So for bad habits, for addictions, the cue and the craving. So the cue, the environment you're in, or the thing that you do that creates the craving, that feeling of temptation that you want to go and have a smoke or whatever the temptation is. And then of course the response is how you actually doing it, how you react to it, and the reward is the dopamine you get from it. So it's only going to reinforce the system. So I think generally, collectively, in the world, we kind of realize that these are bad. Like, they're bad for you. You're poisoning your body. You're poisoning your mind. And they're bad. And it's bad stuff for you. And if you're in the midst of a horrible addiction, most people realize it's bad for them and really want to get out, but just can't because they just don't have control. So to build a habit, which is to create a different cue, which is create a different environment, be in a different place that doesn't give you it won't even give you the craving. So then you can slowly wean yourself off of the craving and off of the want and temptation of an addiction or any other bad behavior, right? Any other bad temptation or thing that is in your life that is hindering you. Developing a habit towards the opposite thing, creating a different environment to make it better. If you're prone to laziness in video games, create an environment where you can get your work done. If you're prone to being on your phone, create an environment where you put your phone so far away and you turn off notification and you put it on do not disturb, and then you focus on your work or whatever you need to do for that moment. So to snap out of bad patterns, building a habit towards the good pattern is a very, very useful thing that you can do. And it really works. And it helps with general mindfulness because it kind of shows you what is actually bad, shows you what is a bad habit, right? It shows, we live in habits, right? Our brain craves routine, right? Craves familiarity. So it actually, just knowing the idea of that will allow you to open your mind a little bit to things that are bad, to things that you can look at and be like, okay, we can tweak that. We need to go and reform this habit and do better in this way and create better habits. Again, the best time that I had and the greatest sleep that I ever had was maybe in a couple 2-3 month period in Portugal where I was just in bed early every single day, 10:30 in the night, sometimes like 11. But then I would naturally be awake at 7-8 o'clock, sometimes even a bit earlier. And I get into the day and I get done what I need to get done. So that was like the best time because, I'd have amazing sleeps. I was super consistent and the habit was super, like very well structured. So that, of course, I got some great enjoyment out of it and some great discipline from it. So it allowed me to kind of realize, okay, yes, in recent times, that was so amazing, but I have not been able to have anywhere near the amount of consistency. Maybe I should, start trying to build that consistency back up with, habit building, which is part of, recognizing your faults and recognizing where you can do better, right? Of course, that's what God teaches us, right? To recognize and realize that you have many faults. And, to build better habits is to just keep on improving as well in your life. But you need to be careful, right? You have to be careful. And this is the point that I'm trying to stress with the point of me making this episode. You have to be very careful. While habits are good for these things I've just aligned, you sometimes have to check yourself. Because sometimes a habit can make things too automatic that you don't want to be automatic. You want to be more intentional with things. So your brain, each and every one of our brains, so lazy, our brains. They want, even if you're doing things, they want routine. Your brain seeks and craves the easy way out in every single situation because it seeks to conserve energy and conserve power. Why? I don't know. It's just an innate human trait. But it's trying to make things easy. So if you build a habit and it's a good, solid habit, but it's, sometimes it's too automatic. To actually have growth, change, improvement in your life, you have to change things constantly. Constantly look to do different things, seek to do more, seek to do better. And your brain's not going to want to do that. So sometimes you can fall into such a strict routine that your mind becomes closed off to any other options. And that's bad. That's bad for your personal growth as well. So you have to realize when you're falling into that. And, I could give an example about myself. A previous project that I was working on, what the habit became was I would get up, I'd do my morning routine, and then I would only work for an hour. I'd do the work for an hour, and then I'd say I'm done, and then I'd be done because I'd post a video, and the process would take from posting, editing, and, doing all the algorithm stuff. It's an hour. It would usually be an hour in my day. And, it only took me till after the fact to realize that, yeah, I worked just for 1 hour a day for months, and I didn't realize that I could have done so much more with that time because I was just so in that routine. And obviously that was a mistake I made a couple years ago that I'm trying my best to fix. But that's the danger of it, that it can just suck you into such an automatic routine that you're not actually striving to do better and changing yourself. And yes, it creates the unwillingness to change. It creates more stress. So if you're in such deep-rooted routines because of the habits you develop, sure, some habits can be good, but then it becomes a thing where over small issues, you're increasing your stress. Just because you have to work for another hour, it leaves you just all over the place. You don't know what to do. You start panicking, right? Or you just, you feel angry. You feel just overwhelmed. right? If you have to work for another hour for whatever reason, or if you're in the middle of your work and something interrupts you, right? Again, I speak from experience because all of this has happened to me quite often. I live in a house with people. There's going to be many interruptions. There's going to be many emergencies that I have to tend to that'll stop me from doing my work. So it's up to me to be like, okay, it's okay, right? Just do the work later. You can do it in the evening. I don't usually work in the evening, but sometimes you're gonna have to. And if you're so deeply rooted in your habits, you wouldn't even want to. It just creates so much stress in your mind, and you overthink so much because your brain just doesn't know what to do because the habit's been kind of snapped, right? You've had this routine for weeks and maybe even months, and then something happens where that routine gets broken and you have to adapt, right? And in life, you constantly have to adapt and change and improve to your circumstance and situation. You have to have a high stress tolerance. The higher the stress tolerance you have, the farther you'll go in life. But it's not built by a habit like that. It's built by constantly being put in stressful situations, constantly focusing on change, and constantly denying your brain's laziness and pushing through your brain's laziness to constantly change and constantly improve, constantly get better. And it just increases more stress on you, puts more stress on you when you have such a deeply rooted habit and you haven't checked yourself, you haven't kept yourself in check, and you haven't really been paying attention. Then all of a sudden you've slipped into this routine that just becomes so automatic that you don't even realize something goes wrong, and you just go all over the place. But if you have a better stress tolerance, something can go wrong and you'll be okay, right? You'll do it, you'll get it done, and you'll be disciplined enough to, whether it's a workout or something, you do the workout later if needed, or you do your work later if needed, or you go to bed early and wake up super early the next morning to get double the work done. Whatever the situation may be, you have to be wary of it. You have to be very, very cautious of it. And, as with a lot of episodes, I think, on this show and a lot of lessons of life, it's all about just kind of taking a step back, looking at the big picture, right? Looking at the bigger picture, looking at the entire situation of your life, what you're doing, right? What you're doing to try and make it in this world, what you're doing to actually try and improve. And it's about taking a step back and being mindful, being like, okay, what can I do here to improve? What can I do here to change this, change that, adjust this, and adapt here, and try something here, try something new, try a new pursuit, try a new thing, work out, or dieting, whatever it is. Then that's how you improve, right? It's really kind of that simple. You just have to kind of use your brain a bit, take a step back, be mindful about every single situation, and it applies more so to the idea of habits. You have to know what you have to figure out in your life. What is a habit, right? What are things that you do that are so automatic? It could be your sleep schedule. It could be negative things in your sleep schedule. It could be playing video games. It could be other addictions. It could be the times you eat at, the time you wake up, the time you go to sleep, things you do during the day. Is there a specific time during the day where you feel more lazy, you feel more inclined to temptation? Is there a specific time in the day where you feel more inclined to work? You have to find those patterns and be mindful and intentional about how you go about your days. Find the patterns and then decide, are these habits good? Are they actually beneficial? Can they be improved? Can they be tweaked? Or are these habits actually bad and they're limiting in my ability to grow and develop as a person? So I have to change things right now. And of course, it's easier said than done because, again, our brain tries to trick us into just following the same routine every single day. But you just need to be conscious of that fact. I try my best in my life to do that. I fail in many aspects. I succeed in many aspects as well. So you just have to learn to do that, basically, is just be mindful. Use your brain, take a second out of every day. You don't have to over analyze this, over reflect this. Just take maybe 5 minutes of your day, 10 minutes of your day, especially like maybe at the end of the day, be like, okay, what did I do today? Where's the structure at? Where are things a little bit messy, right? Where do I feel stressful? Where can I improve here and there? What habits are good? What habits are bad? There's really no other strategy or way. There's no formula, no life hack. And in your life, you'll learn that there are no life hacks, really. There are some things you can do and strategies you can take, but really most of it is just kind of your own investing in your own self-improvement by just taking a step back, reflecting, being like, okay, what can I do here? And then of course, when you're done reflecting, actually take massive action. Actually go in and make the changes that you've said you need to make. It's easier said than done. It's easier to think about all the things that you want to improve in your life versus actually acting on it. So you have to just continue to build yourself up in that way, build up that culture, and you can use habits in a good way to move you forward, but also know that if you push too far on certain routines, it can actually be a hindrance. It can move you a little bit further backward or keep you in the exact same place. And, on this path to improvement, on this path to living a great, fulfilling life, we don't want to be in the same place for longer than necessary. Sometimes it is necessary to be in the same place because you're just grinding, you're just going. But more often than not, it's better to constantly change and improve and adapt. Make mistakes, grow from them, make great decisions, grow from them, try and make those great decisions again. And that's the beauty of life. That's what we're here to do. So hopefully I've covered the whole overarching topic of habits and kind of, how they can serve you, but also be wary of that. Be mindful of that. And you'll do great, man. You'll do great in this life. And, just keep on keeping on, keep on going. And, I'm going to keep on going as well. We're going to grow together. We're going to keep improving on this podcast, on this journey of life, and, God bless you on your journeys. I don't really have this time I don't really have a impactful outro to end the video with, but just pay attention to your life, pay attention to what you're doing, and you'll form great habits, great relationships, make a lot of money, be physically strong if you really put your mind to it.